Stretch and start to crawl. Moonlight whispers down the hall. A cauldron bubbles, it's calling me to craft some chills for all.
Hi and welcome back to day 8 of my 13 days of Halloween collaboration with Lula from Nerd Goblin Art. Today we're going to be making some spooky wine and gin glasses. So this idea came about because my daughter's girlfriend smashed 2 glasses in the house and she went to Asda's Lover and bought me 2 more. Not that I expected it, but yeah, so I had 2 new glasses, wine glasses, and I thought, you know what? I've got to do a Halloween thing with them, whatever that might look like. So this is how I started. I've got some polyurethane water-based varnish, for want of a better word. It's like a glue, and I'm just covering this entire glass with this polyurethane varnish. So because it's been sat for a good couple of months since I last used it, I'm giving it a good stir. Now this stuff is incredibly thin and dries incredibly fast, and it's fantastic for tumblers, glasses, etc., and for popping glitter on. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm just coating this entire glass all the way around the stem and the bottom until it is completely coated. Now there are various things you can use for this. You can use Mod Podge, you can use Elmer's glue, you can use PVA glue, you can even use gilding glue in order to get the glitter to stick to the glass. So as you can see, I'm even covering the base of this glass. This was a glass, my first ever resin glass, going back, probably 4 years now, before people were putting resin on glasses. Yeah, so that was my first attempt, and it was way too chunky on the bottom and ended up way too heavy. So yeah, it's now being revamped after all this time. So I'm doing exactly the same with these smaller wine glasses. Just giving them a good coat, this one all the way around, the next one I do slightly differently. So my idea for these glasses are to do like a peekaboo effect. Now I don't know if any of you have seen this peekaboo effect. It's layering colours on top of each other and leaving spaces so that the colour shows from underneath. That's the idea anyway. Whether it'll work on glasses, it works on tumblers, I know that much, but glasses, I don't know. So we'll find out together. So for this one, I've done it slightly differently. Now, I did start to coat the whole thing and then thought, no, I've changed my mind. I need to only coat a certain amount of it. So I just got a cloth and I just wiped all of this polyurethane off. So now we've got a clear glass again. So I wanted to do like a cape on the back of this one because I'm thinking of doing a Dracula type design. So I'm just marking out where I want the cape to be because I want this to be a different colour to the rest of the glass. The silver marker, you can cover that up afterwards or wipe it off. It's completely up to you once you put the glue in. Because the mark isn't that visible with the glitter behind it, I don't mind it so much. So after drawing the shape of the cape, or what I think looks like a cape, other people's opinion may differ on that one, I'm then giving the shape a coat of the polyurethane. Now in the meantime, because I'd faffed about a lot, the first one had started to dry a little bit too much. So yeah, I would do these glasses one at a time rather than like I've done them and then wait, because like I say, I had to end up giving the first one a second coat. So you can see here as well that I'm also doing the base of the glass. So after making sure that this cape shape was completely coated, it was now time for the glitter. Who doesn't love a bit of sparkle? Now for this, I always use a piece of paper or a piece of card or something just to catch all the glitter, because we can then pop it back in the pot. Otherwise there's a lot of glitter to waste. And this is Art Studio iridescent white glitter. I think they're about £2.50 a pot, and there's loads in it, and it's just as good, if not exactly the same as the Hemingway glitter. I've got a bag of that, and yeah, there's very little difference. So I'm just pouring on the glitter onto this glass, making sure that every bit is covered. Like I said, I did have to end up giving this one a second coat of polyurethane just so that the glitter would stick properly. I'm just literally dumping the glitter on this and catching it all in this envelope, and giving it a bit of a shake. There were a few areas where I needed to just put an extra bit of glue to touch it up because the glitter wasn't sticking as well as I wanted. And my idea for this is to use my Cricut machine with spider webs. Pop the spider webs on and then pop a different colour of glitter on the top. Take away the Cricut vinyl and we should have white spider webs. That's if the vinyl doesn't take the glitter off the glass. So I need to make sure that this glitter is completely and utterly dry in order for it not to do that. So you can see here, I'm just grabbing my fingers with the bits that's on the envelope and making sure that the stem and the entire glass is completely and utterly coated. So once I was happy with the amount of glitter that was on it, I could now pop what was left on this envelope back in the tub. So I'm literally just folding the envelope up and then pouring it straight back in, so there's no waste whatsoever. And this brings it up to nearly a full tub again. The fact that I didn't spill any, I was really proud of myself. So on to the second glass. Now for this one, we're going to be using some purple glitter to do his cape. So because there's no polyurethane on any other part of the glass, I am literally just doing exactly the same and making sure that his cape is completely covered and that the base of the glass is covered. This is just the top of the base. I haven't done the bottom of the base with this one. And once again, when I've finished, I do exactly the same and pop this back into the pot. I nearly, if you see here, go to pour the next colour onto this glass without putting the purple back in the pot. But thankfully, last minute, realised what I was doing and poured it back in to the right colour. Now, like I said, this one had started to dry because I'd now spent about 10 minutes popping glitter onto the other ones. So I'm just giving this a full coat, a second layer, just to make sure that this glitter is going to stick. The glitter I'm using on this one is chunky holographic silver glitter. It's absolutely gorgeous and I didn't want there to be any gaps. So I'm literally just really coating this glass with the polyurethane. I'm doing the entire base and the glass itself. And then I do exactly the same as I did the last time. Now this is the only amount that I've got of this one. This is a smaller jar and I thought, is it going to be enough to cover the whole glass? And luckily enough there was, and with lots to spare after I'd popped it back in the pot. I mean, this colour, like I say, is absolutely stunning. The holographic effect is gorgeous. For this one we're going to be doing little ghosts. And the reason I've gone for the chunky holographic glitter underneath is because when we top it off with the white, I still want to see that silver coming through. So I'm just doing the base of this glass also, just because I absolutely adore the sparkle on this. And again, when I was finished coating this glass, I then popped what was left back in the jar. Now this is a lot smaller jar, so it took a lot more skill. And believe it or not, I didn't spill any of this either. So while I was waiting for these to dry, I'm now printing off my spider's webs on my Cricut machine. So I've used Cricut Design Space for the spider web, and I printed off 3 so that they would fit round the big gin glass. So just in case this doesn't work with a peekaboo effect, I looked in my cupboard and I spotted these wine glasses. Now don't they look like little ghosts upside down? So I thought, right, I'm going to try this one a little bit different. So I've just got some masking tape and I'm going round the edge of the glass, just the top edge. I'm making sure that I go all the way around the glass and then tuck in the other side into the glass so that it protects the inside. You can see I'm literally covering millimetres. Now they're both ready to be spray painted. So I'm using this white metallic spray paint and just literally spraying the entire glasses. Now please wear your protective masks when using spray paint because this stuff is lethal. So I left these to dry for a couple of hours. So now they're dry enough. So I'm just getting this soft fan brush and just brushing off all the excess glitter that's now not stuck to the glass. As you can see, it's not very much. And I printed off with my Cricut a picture of a spider's web and a spider to pop on these glasses. Trust me, my Cricut had had enough use come the end of this video. So to the weeding. Now if you've seen any of my previous videos where I've used Cricut vinyl, I'm not the best person to come to for advice on weeding. I am absolutely rubbish. So I am going to speed this bit up for you because honestly it takes forever. And I never seem to know whether I'm taking the right bits out or not. Does anybody else seem to have that problem? And using transfer paper, now that's just a whole new ball game. So after what felt like an absolute eternity of weeding, I was finished with this spider's web. I then decided that I was going to pop this onto the glass, and this took a while as well because of the bend in the glass. It was quite difficult and I needed to get it flat to the glass, but what I was worried about was the paint coming off. So after about 12 million attempts of taking this off and back on and off and back on, I managed to get it in the right place. And because none of the spray paint had come off at any point, I honestly didn't think it would. So I printed off a spider. I won't put you through the torture of me weeding this, and I popped this on the opposite side of the glass. Now, as I said earlier, my idea with this one was to do like a peekaboo effect. So effectively you pop these pieces on, you then spray it with a different colour or paint it or glitter it with a different colour. You take the vinyl off and you have the white underneath, which would have left a white spider and a white spider's web. So I had to think about the best way to put the next layer or what to use for the next layer for this glass. And the quickest, easiest alternative was to use black acrylic paint. The reason I use black acrylic paint is because when I tried to peel back the spider's web a little bit, I could see that the paint was coming off. And I didn't want pure, clean lines because, like I said, I had my suspicions that some of the paint was going to come off. And if they'd have been pure, clean lines, then you would have spotted it a mile off. So I decided that I was going to grab a sponge, dip it in the acrylic paint and just dab on this glass just to give it that smoky type of look, but also go over the stencil. And I did this around the whole glass, the base, the stem, the spider and the spider's web. So of course, like everything else in this video, it took a while, so I've sped this one up for you as well, so you haven't got to sit through the entire process. So now it was time to peel off the Cricut vinyl. This is sped up slightly, but you can see that one, where the bow in the glass was, and two, where it started to peel off. But I really, really liked the effect that it was giving. It was giving that smoky, sort of old, battered, torn, worn, sort of Halloweeny feel. So I removed the masking tape from the top of the glass. And hey presto, we have a Halloween glass. So I did go over the little patch where the spider was, where you could see that the paint had started to come off. And my plan is to give this a top coat of resin to seal it all in, but I just didn't have the time. I will upload a short later on when I get round to popping the resin on the top, just so you can see how it looks. So now on to the next glass. So for this white one, I printed off some little ghosts on my Cricut, and my plan was to do exactly the same with this one. And this is only part of the video because I've edited loads of it out. Only, as we know, when I'm working on very little time, things never go right. Or never go to plan, at least. So I did go back to my Cricut and print off, again, 12 million bats and 12 million ghosts, and proceeded to pop the ghosts all over this glass. But again, I noticed that the paint was starting to come off, so I decided to keep the ghosts on there. So instead, I just drew on some little white eyes on the black ghost and some little gold eyes on the silver ghosts. And then again, I will pop a top coat of resin onto this just to seal all the Cricut vinyl in. But I think this one turned out really cute. So after I'd gone back, printed more ghosts and then popped a lot more on so that I was happy with it, it was time to take the masking tape off. Now this is my favourite bit. And again, we have another finished glass. So on to the next one. Now whilst I was doing this, I decided to change my mind entirely on what I was going to do with them. So I printed off some little black bats. My idea for this one was to pop the black bats onto the glitter base, spray paint it black, and then take the Cricut vinyl off and it would leave sparkly bats. Again, if I'd have had the time, I would have used black resin. So I'm just sticking loads and loads of bats all over this glass. Again, I'm not going to put you through the torture of that either, so I've sped this bit up for you, but you can see exactly how many bats I've printed off, cut out, weeded, and then stuck on. Why I put myself through these projects, I really don't know, because I haven't got a clue what the outcome's going to be. But it would be boring if I stuck to things that I knew I could do and that I'd done 100 times before. If you haven't already noticed, my channel isn't exactly all polished and perfect. Take, for example, this piece. I really didn't like the way the glitter wasn't sticking, so I give it a coat of some white gesso. Gesso is just some really thick acrylic paint. It goes on really well, it's got really good coverage, and then I popped it in my curing machine to dry. So now on to the next glass. Again, I wasn't happy with the way it was turning out, so I decided to paint this in a pearlescent or iridescent acrylic paint, should I say. And this purple is absolutely gorgeous. Yes, it did take a couple of coats, and in between I give it a couple of coats of extra bits of glitter just to give it some texture. Again, using the same technique as I did before, but a lot less glitter this time, so there was a lot less mess. So after just giving it another couple of coats, each time popping it on the top of my curing machine just to dry out, I was still umming and ahhing about what to do with this piece. But I really, really like the colour on this purple. It's got like a blue shift to it. You can see when I turn the glass, it is really quite stunning. But I couldn't just leave it like that. So I also painted the stem and the base again, just to make sure that it was fully covered. Now, I've never painted glasses with acrylic paint before. I've always used resin. So again, I didn't even know whether this was going to stick, work, come off, etc. But this one was the one that adhered the best. So I decided to pop some vinyl onto it. Now my original idea was to pop this little witch on the front of the glass, pop one on the other side, put a few moon and stars on there, and then put a layer of resin over the top. But no, after I did this I thought, actually, do you know what? This would make a really good stencil. So again, I don't know why I bother. I really don't know why I change my mind on these things. So I thought, what colour will go with the purple? So I picked up an iridescent orange flash paint. Now, like I keep saying, these paints are absolutely stunning. They come in a box of 24. As you can see, the bottles are not very big. And I decided to use this as a template stencil and just paint the orange paint all across the front and all around the edges. I couldn't find a sponge, so I'm using a bit of tissue paper for this, but it did the job. So I'm literally just dabbing it so that I get the outline. I didn't want a solid outline, I just wanted the rough shape. So after it was completely covered, it was time to pull it off, and I couldn't tell what it was. I hated it, absolutely hated it. So I thought, right, how can I fix this? But what I didn't mind was the contrast between the purple and the orange. Although looking at it now, it looks more like a face on the front. So I got the tissue paper once again and just decided to dab all the orange paint around this in just blotches. I didn't want it dark, I just wanted a hint of the orange. So I continued to do this all the way around the glass. So again, I have sped this bit up for you because it did take a while. But I'm just grabbing some paint and just literally dabbing it all over the glass. So now on to the next piece. So like I said to you earlier, I hated the way that this had come out. The glitter hadn't adhered properly. So I thought, right, what do I do with it? So let's transform it into a mummy. So out comes the paper mache. Now I haven't used paper mache in years. Absolutely years. And when I was a kid, it was newspaper we used, but I wanted this to be white, so I'm using tissue paper. So I've got some PVA glue and a little bit of water and mixed it up into a bowl. In the end, I was just using straight PVA glue, and I'm wrapping the tissue paper around this glass like bandages, and I'm making sure that I go all the way around. So I do cover the entire glass. I will speed this one up for you as well. But in the meantime, I've left a gap on the one side so that I can draw some eyes into it. So it looks like a mummy's peeking through the bandages. So you can see I'm just making sure that it's all adhered together and that it's all stuck to the glass properly. So I go all the way around. I did the base, I did the stem, and you can see here where I've left the gap. So after popping all this tissue paper on, or paper mache on, I then popped it onto my curing machine upside down to dry. And this is what it looks like. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. And you can see the space that I've left for his eyes. So now it's time to draw on his eyes. So because I wasn't quite confident going in with the black pen, I decided to go in with a pencil and just draw the outline shape. So after I was happy with it, I then went in with the black marker pen. Now I'm literally just drawing circles and leaving a dot in the middle because I want the middle of his eyes to be red. A sort of zombie mummy, if you will. So after colouring the eyes in, I then wanted to make the front of it look a bit more like bandages. So I just went in with my pencil and drew little lines just to make it look as if he's peeking through a bandage. I didn't go in with the black marker pen because I didn't want it to be defined lines. I just wanted it to be like, like the end of a bandage. And I think he's looking pretty cool. I then went in with a red acrylic marker and just coloured in the middle of his eyes. Now again, I'm umming and ahhing whether to go over this one with resin. I don't think I will. I think I'll just give it a coat of varnish. So I will leave you with some glam pictures. So I'm hoping you're enjoying this series. This is day 9 of 13 days of a collaboration with Lula from Nerd Goblin Art. A playlist is listed below in the description, along with ways to support my channel, whether it be through wishlist, buy me a coffee, but if you've got this far and watched to the end, then I really, really appreciate it. I've been Tony from Georgie's Gorgeous Gifts. Stay spooky, stay safe, happy crafting, and bye for now.